Welcome to the Real Estate Show with your real estate and mortgaging team, Terry Kilakos and Eleni Akrivos on CJAD 800.
And a top of the morning to you, everyone. This is Terry Kilakos here on St. Paddy's Day. I'm getting Luciano Papilla shaking his head in the control room. He's just like cracking up and shaking his head.
Terry's Irish today.
I don't think he was expecting that one. How you all doing? It's Terry Kilakos here. Welcome to the Real Estate Show. I'm your host, chartered mortgage broker and president of Northeast Mortgages and founder of the Northeast Group of Companies. Joining me as usual, we have my beautiful co-host, Eleni Akrivos, chartered real estate broker and president of Northeast Realties. Welcome, Eleni.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
I see you've got your green scarf happening here. I love it. I love it. I love it. Today we're going to be talking about short-term rental pros and cons, how to set yourself up for the best results, and what are the rules you should be aware of, because there is a lot of rules that people just are not aware of, unfortunately, and they get into a lot of trouble. So we're going to be looking into that a little bit later on in the show. Don't forget, you can always join the conversation by calling in with your questions at 514-790-0800 or texting in to 514-800. You can also watch us and comment on Facebook Live at facebook.com/Northeast Mortgages or Northeast Realties. And if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to go on our YouTube channel, which is newsonthego.ca, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that way you can see all the fun and exciting things that happen behind the scenes here on the Real Estate Show. People think that it's all serious business, but it's actually, there's a lot of fun and games here. So,
and a bit of serious business.
Yeah, you see how I did that? That was like kind of the opposite of what normally. All right, okay. Let's get down to business. Before we get into the show, we're gonna talk a little bit about what's been going on in the market. The big news of this week on the mortgage front, the Bank of Canada has held the overnight rate. Predictions of the overnight rate are that it's gonna be dropping over the next little while and over the next year. Now, if you've been listening to this show long enough, you would know that I've actually made that prediction a while back when the Bank of Canada basically started to raise rates. I kind of looked at it and said, what are they doing? There is absolutely no need for this, and this is going to cause a problem. And folks, it has caused a problem. We're in a position right now where the rate is a little bit over where it should be. The Bank of Canada, like I said, they've put the brakes on it. They were saying that they were going to raise rates. They're not raising rates anytime soon. And as a matter of fact, a lot of economists are saying that Canada is actually heading into a recession moving into 2020. And if that happens, we're actually going to see the overnight rate starting to drop off. So I like being right.
So that's good news.
Yeah, it is good news.
Yeah.
Well, it's good news and it's bad news, right? I mean, the good news is that, the Bank of Canada might actually be lowering interest rates, the overnight rate, which is good for people with variable rate mortgages. Mm-hmm. The bad news is that the reason why the Bank of Canada is lowering rates is because the Canadian economy is not doing very well. And we can't lose sight of something, people. Higher rates does not mean that the economy is doing bad. It actually means that the economy is doing really, really well. So that's why you end up having rates going up. When you see rates dropping, that's a bad sign for the economy.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it from a real estate broker's perspective in terms of the rates are going down. I mean, technically speaking, more people could afford a mortgage.
Yeah, but let's look at the flip side. Rates are going down because the economy is not doing well, which means people's incomes are dropping or people are losing jobs.
Yeah, I thought it had to do a little bit more with the stress test that we've been talking about for weeks now, if you guys have been listening. Because of the stress test, less people were able to afford, and they can't really go back, like you were saying. It's hard for them to go back now and legislate backwards.
Well, they are going to be.
They may be, like you were saying.
Yeah, we've said this before, where the Bank of Canada, sorry, not the Bank of Canada, the B20 rules that were put in place were a little bit over the top. Okay, I mean, it was just a buildup of rule after rule after rule after rule after rule, which basically caused this stress on the market, no pun intended with the fact that we're saying stress test, and it's actually hurt the real estate market in pretty much all of Canada, with the exception of, which brings us to the next news of the day, of Montreal, which we'll get to in a second. But it has not, the rates going down doesn't really have anything to do with that. It has more to do with the fact that the Canadian economy is not really doing all that great. And if anyone was to actually really take some time and look at the optics properly, had some optics properly in the Canadian economy last year, they would have seen that. But anyways, that's yeah.
Well, I mean, the rest
Terry
of Canada.
For Prime Minister.
Terry for Prime Minister. Well, you said it. The rest of Canada has slowed down, but Montreal is hot as ever, doing great. It's Montreal along with Halifax are the two markets in Canada that are basically booming right now, that are seeing positive growth in terms of prices, in terms of number of sales have gone up. And the rest of Canada, it's the opposite. So just to get into the real estate stats a little bit, Montreal right now we're seeing, so when I say Montreal, I'm talking about the greater Montreal census metropolitan area. That includes North Shore, Laval, South Shore, Island of Montreal, Vaudreuil, and Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu. Just to be clear. So it's not just the island of Montreal. Sales are up 8% basically from this time last year. So number of sales. Despite the stress test, that's good news. In terms of area, I'm seeing basically the areas that still have high affordability. They went up. So North Shore sales are up 17%.
Wow.
Laval up 16%. So the same time last year, February, there's 16% more sales. If we just look at the month of February, that's amazing.
Very interesting.
South Shore 10% up. Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu 10%. And here's the interesting part. Vaudreuil is unchanged, even though it's a very, continues to be a very hot, sought after market. Island of Montreal, and this is where people are going to be a bit surprised, is actually down 1%.
Really?
In terms of sales. So
why do you think that is?
I think it has to do with affordability. I mean, we keep talking about this all the time, stress test mortgage. It has a lot. I mean, I see it, every day. Island of Montreal, no matter what, the demand is so high. Right? The listings are down, so there's nothing for sale. Because of that, the prices have gone a little bit higher on the island, but that means the sales have dropped. So it's interesting to keep that in mind.
What I find very interesting, and I've talked about this for a very long time, where I say when you want to invest in real estate, you have to go into markets that are underperforming, if you will, right? That's where you're going to get the real gains moving forward. And it was that was the case with the first property that I bought. I bought in Hochelaga, I mean, the neighborhood was just disastrous. And then it went through a gentrification, and it's very different. And it's actually a very sought after neighborhood today. You want to go into, back in the day, I bought in Lachine. We bought in areas that were underdeveloped, underperforming, and that ultimately gave us, what we really were looking for, which was long-term gains, if you will.
Well,
so
you bought low, and it's gone up over time. So even now, I tell people they can buy in French areas. Just to hit quickly on the different types of properties, condos went up 14%.
Wow.
Yeah, just in terms of categories of different properties, and plexes, the prices of plexes went up 8% since last year. So just if you had a plex, it's gone up in value 8% in the greater Montreal area. That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Later, we'll be chatting about municipal rules that you should be aware of when it comes to short-term rentals. Again, don't forget you can join the conversation by calling 514-790-0800 or texting in 514-800. Now we're off to the CJAD Traffic Center with Kira Yeager.
Looking good right now if you're coming down from the Laurentians on Laurentian Autoroute South. All I'm seeing is a very minor delay in Prévost and...
Heat it up, baby. Heat it up.
Oh, you still have your little St. Paddy's Day thing. Hi guys, send us your questions. Anything to do with short-term rentals. There's all kinds of stuff happening in the city. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was funny. You should have seen Luciano's face when I started off the show. Like, he was...
Who liked Terry's accent?
Yeah,
that's what I want to know.
That was really, like,
I
was
it.
priceless. Honestly, that was priceless. That was priceless. Okay, so we have a text. I'm pretty sure that this is Chantal Desjardins that texts every single Sunday.
She misses it. She misses
Hi
you.
Terry, how are you? Miss very too much on CJAD Sunday afternoon with Chantal Desjardins.
Or somebody has a crush on Chantal.
I would be interested in finding out who this is. Let's see. Let's see if we can find out who this is. Like seriously, like it's like every time they text in, they're in love with. Oh, I know who this is. I know who this is. All right.
So we're going to be talking about.
I think that he has a crush on
somebody who
Chantal.
has a crush on Chantal.
Yeah. Anyways.
You know who it is?
I know who it is.
Are we saying it on air?
Yeah. No. I can't say it on air. Oh my God.
No. We're going to be talking about the famous Régie du Logement and how much we love them.
Yeah.
And how much they help us with our tenants.
I would actually be really interested in finding out, anyone that's watching this right now, what are some of the stories that you've actually had with, if you're a landlord, if you've had to deal with a Régie de Logement, what kind of stuff you've had to deal with over the last little while?
I think we should put that out there, by the way, Terry. We're going to start getting into all this, but we should get it out there. People who have maybe experienced bad or good with short-term rentals and
short,
hear from
long-term,
people.
everything, yeah. Absolutely.
I think that would be awesome to hear from people.
Yeah.
That's where you learn the most.
100%.
People's stories.
100%.
So what am I looking at? So I'm going to say off the bat, I am not an expert at short-term rentals. This is something very new. So I've done my research, but there's a lot to know. Honestly, there's a lot of ins and outs, a lot of gray zones. It's pretty crazy.
Is it crazy?
It's crazy.
Are you sure it's crazy?
Don't be lazy, be crazy. Perhaps
Look at the Bank of Canada. This picture. He's like, I was wrong. That's the face of. There should be a bubble here. I should have listened to Terry Kilakos.
That should be the little
This is what he's thinking. Wait, hold on. Let's make some bubbles. I can't make bubbles with this. This pen doesn't work. Oh well, whatever.
Who's in your watching party?
I don't know.
Let's see. Oh, I have a comment.
Oh my God.
Roland says, "Where's the drinks? No drinking while we're doing the show, Roland."
Roland, I've done that once, and I can't do it again. Do you remember before my show when I would do a show with Dan Laxer? There used to be, I forgot her name. She was the foodie.
Great.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to The Real Estate Show, and today we're talking about the pros and cons of short-term rentals. You can call in with your questions or comments at 514-790-0800 or text in at 514-800. I would actually be very curious to know what experiences our listeners have actually had with related to short-term rentals or even long-term rentals. What experiences you've had if you've Airbnb'd, what experiences have you had with the Régie de Logement? These are all very kind of important things, and it all touches on the same on our show. So I would be interested in kind of finding out a little bit more about it.
People can call us?
Yeah, people can call. So 514-790-0800. As well, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to newsonthego.ca, which is our YouTube channel, where you get to see all the fun and exciting behind-the-scenes stuff. So, okay, Eleni, we're seeing a trend right now in Montreal for short-term rentals. We see the Airbnb coming along and stuff like that. It could be a very lucrative business. What are your thoughts on this?
You know what? We have to go back to 2016. I think right now it's beyond a trend, actually. I think it's exploding, and I think it's not what we think it is. So here's what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing a demand for short-term rental, and we're going to define it a little bit later in terms of how the law, how the Quebec law sees it. So short-term rental in terms of Airbnb. Okay, it's defined as something that's a place that you're renting that's under 31 days.
Mm-hmm.
So nightly rentals, for example. we're seeing a lot of people coming into the city. We talked about this a while ago. We're seeing, a lot of foreign workers. We're seeing a lot of foreign students. We're seeing migration from the rest of Canada. Immigrants that are coming here, they need to find an apartment, but they're not ready for a lease. So they might be looking for a week or 2 weeks, for example, 1 month rental, 2 months rental. So there's a huge demand. This is number one for this type of rental. Originally, short-term rentals were for vacations, right?
That's right.
Types
Yeah.
like that. Now we're seeing just different needs. So there's a lot of need. The second thing is I'm seeing a lot of investors who are now saying, oh, I'm seeing the trend and people need these
And they
short-term
want to
rental.
do it. Yeah.
And then they want to do it. So I'm seeing the demand from both sides, not only the users, but from the investors who think that this is a type of investment now for them.
Interesting. We've got Jonathan from Montreal. He's got a question about short-term rentals as a side business. Jonathan, you with me?
Yes, I am.
Hey there.
How you doing?
Excellent, excellent.
So I got into this myself about a year ago.
Okay.
Just after I finished renovating a house and moving my family, and we had a lot of issues, figuring out the lead time between when you sell and then you buy and renovate and all that kind of stuff. And nothing ever goes according to plan, right?
Yeah.
So we found a real issue, and so I after the hell I went through, I had some properties and I put some of them. There's an Airbnb tourism trend. Yes, I understand that, but I think there's a real issue, especially considering how many properties are being bought and sold, and the fact that there is a rise in our marketplace. We need that transient period, and most people who are buying or selling a home, they're not people who live in a one-bedroom studio or can live in a hotel room, right?
That's right.
Need space and comfort.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that what I wanted to know is I've been doing this sort of out in the open, but I know that there are certain regulations and stuff. I'd like to know if there's anywhere we can reach out to, or aside just the city, because once you call the city, you're telling them who you are, right? So is there some type of a service? Is there somebody out there that can help us? We're investors that are doing this not just yet to make money, guaranteed,
Mm-hmm.
but more importantly, we're filling a huge void, which is also helping the real estate market as it is to be able to accommodate people that are having trouble when they buy and sell. It's a frustrating period for them.
Yeah.
And it can make it more difficult for people to want to be active, knowing that there are these issues out there, right?
I agree. And the thing that you need to do, I mean, you can always place the call to the city, but I mean, like you said, if you start calling the city, now all of a sudden you're kind of raising flags and stuff like that. But you gotta be willing to do everything on the up and up. Typically, if you're going to be using Airbnb, they know about restrictions and areas and all that stuff. It's like, for example, if you have a property in the downtown core, right? So let's say you bought something in Tour des Canadiens and your idea was to Airbnb it. There is a moratorium right now that I believe, Eleni, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Valerie Plante that put it in.
Yes.
Right? So basically there's a moratorium which doesn't allow for you to do short-term rentals in those areas via Airbnb and so on and so forth. And one of the reasons why they did that is because they wanted to protect the hotel industry that is in the downtown core. Otherwise, everyone would be getting, these Airbnbs. So that's the first thing that you can do. The second thing that you could do is if you're buying a condo, I mean, obviously you can contact the condo association or just go through the actual condo bylaws, and you'll actually be able to see what exactly they allow and they disallow. And if you're planning on buying something, you got to go through this beforehand. Ask your real estate broker. I mean, this is a topic of conversation that we have all the time with our clients, where they come in and they say, look, we want to buy this property. I had one this week, actually, with someone. I want to buy this property. My idea is to actually rent it out. Am I able to rent it out? Mm-hmm. And I said, well, give me a copy of your bylaws. Let's take a look through it together. And, we saw in the bylaws it wasn't an issue. But you do have to be aware, and you have to make sure that you don't step on anyone's feet, if you will. All right.
Well, I'm more of a small developer, sort of. Yeah. I'll buy the entire property.
Sure.
If it's 4 doors, 8 doors, 12 doors, and my ideal is to make it, yes, couple or young couple or professional friendly, but mostly family or young family friendly, because I think this is where the dynamic of the growth is.
Yeah.
In terms of, they're selling their condo, but they're buying a home, or they're selling their home, they're buying another home, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And I think that we need to find and I guess the reason I'm reaching out is just because I found it interesting that the topic was up, and since I got into this side business or true business a couple of years back, I've been aggressively for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And I really think I think I'm filling a void, but I'd like to do it in a way where it's never going to become you didn't do it right from the beginning. You should have done it this way. So it's more of a question of the Airbnb thing. I know there's parts in certain cities allow it, certain cities don't. You got to be zoned H or something to do it.
That's right.
That's less my concern. I don't care so much about the Airbnb. I mean, it's nice. It fills in the weekends here and there when you don't have someone. But it's really more the servicing the need for furnished quality short-term rentals.
I think so. What you're talking about more is like 1 to 2 to 3 month rentals. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit different, but ideally, like Terry said, reach out to a real estate broker. And there's also a lot of sites that you can check, by the way, online. I've been researching, so if you want to know, you can contact us later.
We're gonna have to switch over to a break. Jonathan, thank you for the call. We're off to no, it's not the news yet. Hold on. We're heading on to a break. When we return, we'll be looking for financing options for short-term rentals. Stay tuned, everyone.
The Real Estate Show is brought to you by Northeast Mortgages.
Hello. You may know me from my Land Rover Laval ads. They're kind of funny. But now it's time for me to get your attention about a serious sales event at Land Rover Laval. If you are looking for the ultimate luxury SUV, the only adventure sales event is on for a limited time at Land Rover Laval. Receive 2 months complimentary lease payments or event credits up to $4,000 on select Land Rover models. Yeah, I thought that would get your attention. Visit Land Rover Laval for details.
March 16th and 17th.
That's so funny.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But it is.
So guys, I have not drank anything. I just was reading. I was reading some text at the same time that I was getting that call. So that's Terry trying to multitask, but failing at it a little bit there.
It's all good.
Yeah. That was funny.
No, because we're also supposed to be going to the parade, right?
That's right. Yeah, we're gonna be going to the parade.
Just 1 or 2 minutes.
35.
Okay. Yeah, he said just 1 or 2 minutes. So it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So c'est bon.
Who is it? It's Dave Kaufman at the parade?
I think so.
So do you want to get into the Régie de Logement, or do you want to just get into the fact that because the incomes can be higher for people when they own, when they're doing short-term rentals versus long-term rentals, which has to do with the Régie anyways, right?
Yeah.
It's together, right? Okay.
You know what? Why don't we do...
When he just answers the amount of times I say, so now we're doing renovations. I'm like, so we're going to do this wall like this? Yeah.
Perfect. Let's do it.
And I'm like, did you hear me? Oh, no, I don't want to do the wall like that.
But people don't have to use Airbnb to do short-term rentals. This is the thing. And this
why don't we get into that? So why don't we switch to... Oh my God, look at Orla.
Oh my God.
All right, guys, you're in for a treat.
Oh my goodness.
It's the Lucky Squad is here.
I want that wig, man.
Oh, darling, you could have it.
Oh my God.
We take ourselves
I love the wigs, guys.
I don't get any sugar. Hold on.
How you doing?
We gotta get you on camera. Look at this.
Oh God.
Look at Orla, everyone.
Oh my goodness. You guys
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Say hi to our Facebook
it.
people.
Hi,
Say
Facebook
hi.
people.
I would love it. You know what?
I just put it on. Hang on.
Is it like clipped on and everything? No, if it's clipped
yeah,
on, no.
Let's do a quick video.
You didn't think about like actually like...
Yeah, we look like we're freaking strippers on Grand Prix or something.
No, you look like Irish. Yeah. Irish bombshells. That's so cute.
Okay, send it to me as well.
Amazing. Can I trouble you to take one with my camera of the two of us?
We'll hop out
first
if you like it.
Funny.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not sure that green is my color, but I'm super into
oh
it.
Oh my God, I love
Honey, you can't go back now.
What's going on there?
Don't know what's going on.
She's good, eh?
I love the little rat tail in the back.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's like we got a little coupon going.
That is hilarious.
I love it. I'm going with the green girl. I'm going with the green.
Okay, so I have officially lost everyone out of the studio. I'm by myself in here. There's people outside taking pictures right now. of Orla. So you just have to deal with me. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So yeah, so guys, if you have actually any comments about this, about the show, please put them in. And again, don't forget, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to newsonthego.ca.
What are things like out there, Curator?
Luciano, they're actually quite decent to and from the West Island, South Shore.
At some point, someone is going to like realize that I'm by myself in here, and this is like, hello.
In the north, it is not too bad.
Unbelievable.
South, actually, very nice ride. Slight delay through Saint-Sauveur and Prévost, nothing to worry about. On island, we do have a delay on the westbound Ville-Marie. It's been there for the whole weekend, so throughout the entire day today, a busy ride on the westbound Ville-Marie, Rose de Lima into Turcotte because of ramp closures. So your only available ramp is going on to the
Christina, I will definitely be at the Greek parade next week. Oh, welcome back.
Thank you. Hi there. Oh, we're sorry. We're taking a bunch of pictures with Orla and Andrea. That was fun.
Like seriously?
Sorry.
All of a sudden, like the whole studio is empty.
Sorry, Terry. Two green wigs. We had fun.
We had someone. They were.
Dr. Joe is here also now.
Is he wearing a green wig too?
No.
We need to wear. We needed to get our green wigs.
Dr. Joe is here too. We should get Dr. Joe in.
What are we going to talk about? The chemistry of a home?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Asbestos, pyrite. What's the different chemical products you can find in the home? Carbon monoxide.
I think that people just like crashing our show personally. That's what I think.
You're the funnest show out there. The most boring subject, the funnest show.
What do you mean the most boring subject?
Real estate and mortgages. Nobody would think.
No, real estate is exciting.
Yeah.
Mortgages is the like god awfully like boring. Now you guys know why I am the way I am at work. I have to be. I have to have a lot of like fun.
Oh, we're back.
No, it's a fakesy. It's a fakesy.
I got faked. You got punked.
Oh my god.
Okay, so
I guess they're doing a live show today. Oh, you're going straight to the parade, eh?
What the heck? I've lost my chat box. I've lost my chat box. I'm just gonna go and see. I'm gonna ditch you guys now.
fine.
Sure.
Oh, this one. I have to pee.
If the show starts, I'm gonna have to just host it.
Just do it.
I think at 36 he's back on. He better be back in like a minute.
Oh, she's like, I'm gonna host it, but I don't think so. Okay, I'm alone now, so I'll tell you all of Terry's secrets. So yeah, so while Terry's gone, I'm gonna let you guys know. I'm
Dr. Joe
actually
doesn't want to
thinking.
crash our show.
Oh my god.
He just wants to, like, you know, take pictures with Orla.
So before the show, I was actually telling Terry that I wanted to Airbnb a part of my personal home.
Oh, are you back to work now? Are you
What do
actually
mean?
like,
I'm here
you know,
talking to the public.
whatever?
Oh, he was upset that you left him alone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was not upset.
I was
but,
following
you know,
the green girls. I was just distracted. They were so green.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and so Terry said it was a good idea, but I think he was being sarcastic.
Top of the morning to you. It wouldn't really be top of the morning though. It's like top of the afternoon. Okay, so we have from Dawn, Montreal incentivizes for new first-time Montreal City condo buyers. Any news on changes to Mayor Plante's initiative on financing, eligible price scales, etc.? Do you know anything about that?
Is he talking about the we talked about it last show, the grants that the city, the subsidies and grants that they're offering?
Yeah.
Yes, that's typically though if you're gonna, that's to encourage people to buy in the city to live in it, not for investment.
Okay.
I don't know if
Yeah,
he's
of course. Yeah.
I don't know if he's talking about investment, but yes, there's lots of those, and it's ongoing. They've renewed the program. It's actually very interesting.
Yeah.
There's certain criteria you have to buy within a certain price range. A new condo. It's also for older buildings as well. It's definitely worth looking into. You could. Yeah.
So before you start, you have to go to the
We're back.
to the parade.
Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate Show. Today we're talking about things you need to have to be aware of before you host a short-term rental. You can always join the conversation by calling in at 514-790-0800 or texting in at 514-800. But before we kick it off, I think we've got Dave on the phone from St. Patrick's Day Parade. Hey, Dave.
Terry, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm excellent, brother. What's going on over there? It sounds like you guys are having a party back there.
It's a full swing party. I'm not gonna lie, my toes are a little cold, but I'm watching the Montreal Impact team booster club here about to march by, and a bunch of them are playing soccer, and they are wearing shorts. So I guess I shouldn't really complain. I feel like we're wrapping up. It's about it's more than halfway done right now. The CJAD 800 float's already gone by. Wonderful atmosphere down at the parade. Everybody's in a great mood. I did hear Luciano say it feels like it's minus 13. It doesn't seem to be affecting anybody's spirits. Lots of hot coffees and hot chocolates. Maybe something in them, I don't know. But it's been a wonderful time down at the parade.
Well, you know what? I'm going to come and join you guys after the show. I'm looking forward to it. Get me a nice hot coffee ready.
You're on, Terry. Thanks so much. And all just a wonderful atmosphere down here at the parade. And yeah, like you said, if you're going to get down here soon because it's ending soon. But then you know that, all the fun just moves indoors to several local establishments.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers. Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. We have actually a very interesting text that came in from our Facebook community. Montreal incentivizes first-time Montreal home. Oh, sorry, hang on. Let's get this. Montreal incentivizes for new first-time Montreal City condo buyers. Any news on changes to Mayor Plante's initiative on financing? We should actually go down to the parade and ask her because she's there right
she's
now,
there.
right?
Perfect.
So yeah. So, Eleni, anything that you've
Well, we talked about it on a few shows ago, and we mentioned that, Accès Montréal, basically, so the Ville de Montréal has several incentives, subsidies, if you want to call them, for purchasing, whether it's a new condo, it's an older building. They're quite interesting. You have to, look at them online. It's pretty easy to find them. If people want to know, they can contact us through the office. I'll tell them where to look. And basically, you can get, money back for buying certain types of properties in Montreal.
Interesting. We have a call from George, who's had a bad experience with the rental board. Hey, George, how are you?
I'm fine.
What's going on with you? What happened?
Well, I have some very bad tenants
Mm-hmm.
who make a lot of noise
Mm-hmm.
and don't let the other people sleep at night. I go to the regie and I get an appointment till a year later.
Yeah.
Almost a year later. Okay. And there's no provision for some emergency cases where some tenants are very, very dirty and they cause all kinds of cockroaches and misbehavior, and there's nothing you can do because the regie is not going to listen to your call unless they don't pay the rent on time. That's the only time that you'll get relatively fast appointment.
Fast service, if you will. Thank you for the call, George. I agree with you, actually. I've had some experiences with the Régie de Logement where they just take forever to give you that court date. But in a case like that, what I would actually recommend for George to do is to pick up the phone and actually call the police. If you have a tenant that's making a lot of noise and it's outside of the, quiet period. So, if it's in the quiet periods. Yeah. So 11, no, it's 11. So 11 to 7, you can't make noise, right? You have to keep your noise at a minimum. Before 11 p.m., you're okay. If they're making noise after that period, well, at that point, you need to, call the police. And I've actually had tenants where they've called me and they said, they've called me at 1 o'clock in the morning and they tell me, the upstairs guy is having a party. And I tell them, what do you want me to do? I can't do anything about it. Short of, I'm going to show up there. I'm going to say, keep it down. You're better off calling the cops, telling the cops to show up. They're going to tell them to, quiet down. And if there's a,
But I think his story is really pointing to the fact that we are having a lot of problems with tenants in general. And this is leading to a lot of owners turning to short-term rentals. So again,
Absolutely,
not
yeah.
short-term rentals under 31 days, but what kind of Jonathan was saying before, which is I'm seeing a lot of investors buying properties and renting them out to families furnished for 1 month to 3 months, for example. And you know what? Not only are they sometimes making more money, but they're not having to deal with the Régie de Logement.
Exactly.
And that's
Yes.
why we're seeing an increase
Yes.
of, quote unquote short-term rentals that sometimes fall into the category and sometimes are in a gray zone.
Okay, we have a call from Anthony right after. I want to expand on that a little bit because I have a question on that. Personal. We got Anthony in St. Leonard who obliges tenants to have insurance. Anthony, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. Is it legally binding to ask them to have insurance?
100%. 100%. Yes. 1,000% you can do it. I actually, I tell my tenants that they need to have renters insurance. You can actually create an annex within your leases that basically, because you got to remember something, right? The Régie de Logement's lease is a legally binding document. But you could put an annex to it, okay? So don't forget that you could put conditions. So you can put all kinds of stuff.
Cannabis and smoking and animals, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you could do all kinds of stuff. You can say, look, this is part of the lease. This is an annex to the lease. I do it all the time. I oblige my tenants to have insurance because if, God forbid, something happens, yes, my insurance will cover them for certain things, but it won't cover them for other things, and if they're the cause of the damages, which by the way, I have had tenants be the cause of damages, like we're talking about pipes freezing, we're talking about all kinds of stuff, their insurance paid out and my insurance and their insurance worked together to kind of fix the property. So good on you, man. That's excellent. Thanks,
okay,
Anthony.
So I can put on the lease that the insurance has to be renewed until they're there, right? Exactly.
Yes.
For 3 years. They have to have insurance for 3 years. Right?
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anthony. Have a great day. We have a text also. There is no time for noise anytime during the day. If the noise is causing problems, you can call the police. It's a myth that there's a guy that it's only at night, early in the morning, just letting you know. Thanks, Andrew. Yes and no. Okay, that is true, but not true. Also, if, yes, the noise is out of control, then obviously,
if somebody complains,
yeah,
right?
we had we had our neighbors, some new neighbors that kind of moved into the neighborhood that decided to have a karaoke party in their backyard. Oh my! It was like as if they had these speakers in the backyard and they were blaring, and it was like as if there was cats being murdered, it was just terrible. So after about 45 minutes of this hell that was going on, someone in the neighborhood called the police, and the police showed up, and the police told them to hey, you gotta keep this down a little bit, lower the speakers, and they did. So yes, I agree with Andrew. We have another text. I am a landlord. I have been called regarding the noise from a certain tenant. I went to the police to see. They said they have been there 18 times. Great tenant causing stress noise. Now I'm going to raise the rent and end up at the Régie de Logement. Frank from Lachine.
So we're hearing more about Régie de Logement and tenants than from people who are doing short-term rentals. I would love to hear from somebody who's doing short-term rentals as well.
Absolutely, and they are constantly fighting, and it's regular business for them. Yeah, absolutely. I love every time you talk about the Régie de Logement, you end up getting a lot of angry people.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more talk about short-term rentals. Now we're off to the CJAD Traffic Center with Kira Yeager.
Decent ride for the most part. Couple of things I do have to mention, however. One thing going on is westbound Ville Marie is busy from Rose de Lima.
And I wanted to
I don't even remember. What were we talking about?
Oh, jeez. I wanted to ask you about, since we're talking about leases and all that, about financing and what happens if you are
let's talk about
doing
it.
the
Okay,
short term.
you can ask me that when we come back.
Wow. Well, no, what I was talking to you about, and it ties in, was the fact that people we're hearing from, it's obviously a lot of negative on Régie de Logement.
Yeah.
And why is that? I mean, that's driving people to do these short-term rentals, right? Why? They have more control. Right?
Yeah.
And I was just telling you that they tend to make more money. I think we all can agree on short term. But then how does it affect the financing? So then you said, I have a question personally about that. making more money on the rents.
He doesn't remember.
I don't remember. Like,
Okay, so we're
you
going
know,
to talk
like the little
about
hamster,
potential
like, stepped off the
making more
treadmill.
money on short-term rentals.
The treadmill. The hamster stepped off the treadmill.
Hamster, come back.
You
So
sure
yeah,
didn't
If there is any doctors that are listening to this, maybe you can give me a diagnosis for my condition.
I'm the same way. It's called the brain racing sometimes. You know.
Unbelievable. In all seriousness, guys, you know, it is not. This is not as easy as it looks. Let's just start with that, okay? For me personally, like having to actually host a show. Oh my god!
It's a lot of. I tell you, it's a lot of work.
I don't know
Hats
how
off to you. You do a great job.
Are we back? No. No.
You do a great job, Terry. For not having gone to journalism school.
I love this. The Régie de Logement sucks rocks. So glad I left Quebec.
Wow.
It's not just in Quebec. New York City has the exact same problem with the rental.
Across Canada, we are the strictest,
yeah,
right?
I just realized that they erased my bonhomme that I had up there.
That was a long time ago, dude. Get over it.
It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks. They're not going to keep your drawings.
So, do you agree with me, Terry? And this is the question I want to ask you because
get the hamster back on the treadmill and answer her question.
Do you agree with me that you can potentially make more money short-term rentals and less headaches than long-term, like
yes,
regular?
You can ask me that question.
Yes, can I ask you? But do you agree with me?
Yeah.
I don't.
My hamster's.
I don't want Terry to disagree.
My hamster's back on the treadmill.
By the way, I don't mind if Terry ever disagrees with me, but usually.
Last, I would like to know, where is a landlord to go for assistance? Also in the USA and the other locations.
There's some associations.
There's like a landlords association that's backed by the government.
No.
Like the renters association is backed by the government.
Let's call Terry Kilakos.
Let's call him. There is Corpic, which is like
it's not backed by the government.
No, it's not. I'm just saying it's an association.
They help you.
Yeah, they
Corpic
help you.
and AP and.
Who out there in Facebook land wants one of these mugs? That's what I want to know.
Are we giving them away?
I think we should start giving them away.
Who can get to the station in the next?
No, don't do that.
I'm scared Terry. I love to scare. Terry's like, what?
People will show up and they're going to be like, I want my mug.
Yeah.
I want it now.
That's fine. Next time I'll bring a few extra ones.
She just gave it away. She took a few extra mugs.
Are you the one that took the mugs? That's why
they're
they
at the
disappeared?
office. What do you know? I didn't take it. I have these two, guys. That's the only two I have. What am I going to do with more mugs? Where am I going to keep them?
We love you.
You know what I'm...
They're in the back
guys,
in the office.
if you could see what I see outside of the studio right now.
Who's there?
That green wig there that Orla's got on.
It's very distracting.
Hilarious.
We're going to have to clean up faster.
Did the Vatican catch on fire? What church is that?
It's not a church, it's the mosque.
That looked like the Vatican.
Your real estate and mortgaging team, Terry Kilakos and Eleni Akrivos on CJAD 800.
I'm getting into the music here. Thanks for tuning in. We're talking about short-term rentals and where to start. Don't forget, you can always join the conversation by calling in with your questions at 514-790-0800 or texting in to 514-800. You can also watch us and comment on Facebook Live at facebook.com/Northeast Mortgages or Northeast Realties. And if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, newsonthego.ca, where all the fun happens, as far as I'm concerned. The texts are coming in like crazy.
Too much Régie de Logement.
Yeah. I think people just like are... there's one here about the Régie de Logement, which I wish I had a beep button, but the Régie de Logement, beep, so glad I left Quebec. Last, I would like to know, where is a landlord to get assistance? Also, in the U.S. and in other locations, why don't they have deposits for damages? It seems normal if you damage a rental property to pay a portion when leaving. That's from Frank. Truth be told, I know a lot of landlords that do take deposits, and yes, the tenant can basically say, no, I'm not giving a deposit, and then, they just don't take that tenant. There's a lot of landlords I know that take deposits. It's not allowed. The Régie de Logement does not permit it. I think that it's terrible that they don't permit it, but that's a whole other comment. I've had a short-term rental in the past with Airbnb. What is the minimum amount you can earn before the government will start going after you? Answer, $1. Okay. Anything that you earn, guys, very, very, very important. Okay. Whether you make $1 or whether you make $1 million, you need to declare it to the government. Okay. That's for the Revenue Quebec truck that's sitting outside.
Yep,
That's like,
absolutely.
You have to declare it to the government. No, seriously, because you don't want for them to come back to you and say, hey, you know what, you didn't declare this. And then that opens up a whole other can of worms.
So what if, Terry, I'm just, renting a part of my principal residence, my basement.
Okay.
And
are you making money?
And yes, I'm making
Declare
money,
it.
but it's my absolutely.
Declare
So I have a lot of clients who are like, well, it's just, so whether it's your primary residence, whether it's your chalet up north, whether it's a property that you own and you short-term rental it, you need to declare the income.
You need to declare the income.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, okay, think about it, okay? You're in tax evasion, right? And especially when you're using something like Airbnb or using something like that, they report back to the government. Right? They're going to report back to the government. They're going to say this person rented out the place for $1,000 or $2,000. And yes, let's be realistic here. The government is not going to come after you if you've made $1, okay, or if you made $1,000 or whatever. It's not in their interest. They're not going to. You're not going to be on their radar. But you know what? If you're not going to declare a $1 or $1,000, you're not going to declare $10,000. And you know what? At that point, then the government will come after you, and they're actually putting teams in place that are specifically designed for that. Okay, so be aware.
Yeah, it's getting more serious. We're seeing more and more legislation. We know that Valérie Plante put in something June in 2017, and now the boroughs have, other boroughs have followed suit as well. And you know what? There's still a lot of gray zone.
Yeah.
But they're actually, in terms of provincially as well, so you're speaking of Revenue Quebec, they will be adding more inspectors. So right now, apparently, there's 27 inspectors. They're adding to
that's
the team.
It?
That's it right now. That's what my research, I know, that's what I thought too. But so that's the...
Specifically for rentals you're talking about?
For short-term rentals right now,
all right, got it.
There's 27 inspectors. There's been a few fines handed out, but for the amount of short-term rentals that we see posted versus the fines, it's really not not enough yet, but they're picking up speed because again, it's just happening much more than we think.
Okay. We have actually a question from Kumar on Facebook land. How does income declaration on short-term rentals affect your T1s? Do banks recognize this type of income? Yes and no. Okay, so when you have a lease on a property, so let's get that straight. A lease on a property, very, very simple. Whatever the revenues is, we slap it onto your income. We run it through the bank's calculations, and we declare that revenues to the bank, and it helps you qualify for a mortgage. When you have a short-term rental, there is no lease, so there's no proof. So what you need is an actual track record. Okay, so if you're doing short-term rentals, you need at least 2 years of notices of assessment showing that you actually have that income coming in so that they would be able to actually qualify that as part of your income. That's the difference, because one is considered rental income, the other one is considered almost like business income. Okay, and business income, you need 2 years. Hopefully that answers Kumar's question. Interesting.
So that's basically, it doesn't help you necessarily qualify for a property.
No.
For yourself in terms of purchasing,
Yeah.
But it does add to your personal income.
Yeah.
When you're whether it's a lease or short-term rental, you have to declare it, like you said before.
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, what we've actually seen is a lot of banks, they don't like, when we're talking about, let's say, rooming houses, or we're talking about short-term rentals, a lot of banks don't actually like it. So
it's not stable.
It's not stable.
Yeah.
Well, forget about it's not stable. Is you have a lot of traffic going through the property. So because you have so much traffic going through the property,
of course,
there's risk of damage, and
it's a higher risk.
Exactly,
not stable,
and so on and so forth. Which was along the lines of your question that you had before we kind of went off to break, right, with me?
Yeah, basically we were looking at, how do people qualify if there's no lease on a property, right? How can you qualify to purchase it? And then even if you're selling a property, so if you own a property, I don't know, triplex, fourplex, and it's short-term rental, and you're selling it, well, the person who's buying it without leases, the property has no revenue, technically speaking. Right?
That's right, exactly. And so you just have to qualify based on your income, 100%, and that's it. Unless you end up putting a lease in place, and that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But leases, they tend to have a whole, as we see, people just love the regie de logement. Eleni, we're out of real estate
already.
I know, it's crazy. I mean, time just flies when we're having fun, right?
Yeah.
Plus all this talk about St. Patrick's Day today and all that good stuff. If people want to get a hold of you,
they can call the office line, which is, we have two of them, 514-716-6188, which is more real estate related. The regular office as well is 514-680-4674. If anybody has any follow-up questions to what we spoke about today.
100%. And we'd love to answer your questions, so please feel free to call us at the office. As well, don't forget, visit us online at northeastmortgages.ca as well. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is newsonthego.ca, where you get to see all the fun and exciting stuff that happens behind the scenes. Until next week, everyone, have a great week.
Where do you find a friendly Toyota team?
Boom. So today
So you're right on the time.
Yeah, today I did something a little bit different.
Bye, everyone.
And I'd love to get your feedback. You guys can actually send me a message on Facebook. I did a watch party as opposed to actually just sharing it the way I would normally do. So anyways, have a great day, everyone. Love you all. See you next week.